Hello and welcome to the GreatBuildz Guide, a series of informational videos we hope will help homeowners on their renovation journey. I'm Stephanie, your GreatBuildz concierge, and today we're discussing tips for interviewing contractors. We have a special guest with us today. Will is a contractor in the GreatBuildz network, and we're so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's good to be here. I own my own business called Crescent Canyon, and I'm married to a designer. We do projects together. I've been in the construction industry for about 15 years. Look forward to more great projects with GreatBuildz.
We do too. Will and his wife are a fantastic design build team. They've actually been featured on HGTV's House Hunter Renovations. Before we dive right into the interview process, I do want to make a note that it's very important to screen contractors before you meet with them. Do your due diligence in vetting any contractors that you're going to meet with. Here at GreatBuildz, we do the searching and screening for you using our 10-point vetting process. You can find out more about that on our website. So, interviewing a contractor, what to expect, what should you bring to the table? These are the kinds of things we're going to talk about. So, first, as a contractor who's done countless interviews with clients, what is it that you really appreciate a homeowner coming to that first meeting prepared with?
Well, that's a great question, and I think you hit the key word, which is prepare, right? So I think preparation is key, and the first thing I would prepare is what's the scope? Write it down as you understand it. It's going to be a foundational document for you to review during that first meeting, and so I think coming up with all the things you want to discuss and include as your project. Then I would also consider budget and schedule. What are your constraints? Where would you like to be? And what are your ideals there? Because those are also going to be a conversation point in that first meeting.
What about materials and finishes? Should they come to the meeting prepared with, Pinterest or ideas or pictures they found or previous kitchens they've seen that they love?
I think that's great. It's not a requirement, but it's always helpful. And everyone is getting on the same page in terms of, I like that. And I think if you've got material, great, we take a look at it. It can only foster a good conversation with the client. Certainly not required, but always great if you've got inspiration material.
Okay, great. So it's the day of the interview, the contractor has showed up. What can a homeowner expect to happen during an initial visit?
Well, I think you want to make sure that you've carved out enough time. So we typically allow for up to about an hour.
Okay.
And then obviously you're going to review that scope document together. I would also encourage that there's a conversation around communication and how communication will happen during the project, what your preferences are, email, text, phone calls, and if there are constraints around that.
All right, so during the meeting, there's so many questions a client could ask a contractor, and I think that this topic can be blown out. And so we actually have a blog post on our website that you can visit, which has a long list of good questions that clients can ask contractors during a meeting. It can vary based on what your project is. But for the purposes of this, what do you think are the 2 or 3 most important questions a client should ask a contractor during the initial interview?
First and foremost is referrals. It's important that a contractor stands behind their work and that they've got a client base that is willing to refer them. In the GreatBuildz network, that's been done for your clients already, but even your GreatBuildz contractors should still be comfortable with passing on a referral so that you can speak to them, or at least be comfortable with the idea that you might speak to them about their experience on a project. Additionally to that, the question I would suggest to a homeowner would be, what haven't I asked that I maybe should be asking? So that's an opportunity for you to see how they take that question and answer, and it might bring up something about the project itself or something valuable that you would have missed otherwise.
Thank you, that's really helpful. I think during the meeting, it's important for a client to pay attention to the contractor's demeanor. Are they engaged? Are they listening? Are they responsive and excited about the project? and make notes about those types of things because they can be helpful later. So the interview's over and the contractor's left. How long can they expect to wait for an estimate?
So it varies, but I usually like to set that expectation with the client as the meeting is ending.
Okay.
Here is when you will hear from us. I would say on average for projects it's anywhere from a week to 2 weeks, somewhere in there. But we may need to do a little bit more research, so that is why it varies.
And can clients expect a return visit? Can they expect to have a second round or anything like that?
There usually is. It doesn't usually need to be as involved as that first meeting. It can sometimes be just a sub or a meeting with not all parties present that allow us to just make sure that the estimate we give you as a homeowner is one we can stand behind, that allows us to be confident that we've captured the scope that you want, and we're clear about it, and we're providing you an estimate that reflects that.
Great. And I think the only other thing I want to mention is, when you're wrapping up these interviews with the contractors, make a few notes about, their demeanor and things you liked, things that you didn't like, your impressions, because I think once you get to the point where you've now gotten interviews with all the contractors, you're comparing estimates and their work, you want something to reference. You want to be able to compare them apples to apples. You want to make sure that you are seeing them for what they are. So I think that about wraps it up for us. Thank you so much for being here, Will. I really appreciate it. If you are embarking on a renovation project, we hope you'll reach out to us at GreatBuildz. If you'd like to work with a contractor like Will, for instance, check back here for more videos and visit our website at greatbuildz.com.